what were the results? Well, if we look at the year-on-year comparisons for June to August 2012, using the Nielsen spend data, we can see that outdoor, on the face of it, is up 60% year-on-year in August, whilst all of the other main media were down. Now, I always take Nielsen data with a pinch of salt, but even saying that 60% figure is a really strong finding for outdoor. The comparison with TV is perhaps the strongest. In the UK, the public broadcaster, the BBC, which doesn't show advertising, had the rights to the Olympics. So the commercial broadcasters really suffered during that period, with spend down 13%. So for 90 billion Danish kroner, a 60% uplift's got to be worth it for the outdoor industry here. But what about the formats? What does this show? Well, all types of formats benefited. So 6 sheets are sort of what we would call small street formats. Tube is the underground, bus, rail, I'm not sure. 96 sheets are the really big ones. Specials are sort of special uses of out of home and the airport. But what really benefited with transport, large formats, and the specials around London. In part, this was down to the way that the tickets for the Olympics were sold, because every single ticket came with free travel on the public transport network in London, and this led to sort of 5 million users of the public transport network and being exposed to out of home. It gave it a slightly artificial boost. Airports, well, they represent a great opportunity for communicating for international brands with such a large flow of visitors through the key terminals. And some of the examples that I'm going to show shortly will demonstrate why this was so strong. But the key, it was how did the brands do it? Oh, sorry. All in all, outdoor became part of the Olympics experience for a lot of visitors. They added colour, they added vibrancy. The efforts that advertisers and creatives went to generate standouts and real cut through for their brands was really striking. And 62% of visitors said they saw it. And let's see some examples now. So the Olympics and outdoors started well before the Olympics. We had the torch relay, which took the Olympic flame on a tour of the UK with runners coming from all sections of society. One or two famous names, so I saw Didier Drogba earlier. He ran through the town of Swindon, carrying the Olympic flame, and here you can see that well-known athlete Cliff Richard doing his bit. But what the sponsors did was to really get behind this and do a lot of ambient media following the torch and developing it further. It drew massive crowds right across the country. Everywhere it went, you saw people and real benefits for the advertisers being involved, because it was perceived as quite a risk to start off with. So the likes of Samsung, Coke and the bank, Lloyds TSB, really benefited. Stratford was the site of the Olympic Games, so it was where you went to go to the main stadium, the aquatic centre and so on. And what we can see here is how the Lloyds Bank took over the main tube terminus at Stratford and really created a really outstanding piece of use of out of home there with its credentials. As I mentioned before, international advertisers were using airports in particular, and they were up 180% year on year. And this example shows how Visa emphasised its international credentials through the way it dominated Heathrow. They had some really striking use of visuals. Some of the athletes they picked actually were cursed effectively by Visa. One of the famous ones was Phillips Adowu, who's a a British triple jumper, and he didn't qualify for the finals, but he was quite prominent in everything that Visa did. They also took over Paddington, which is the main railway station that links to Heathrow. You can just see the Olympic mascot in the bottom of the picture here. I'm sure you probably don't remember Mandeville and the other one whose names I can't remember. At Mindshare, we represent BP, that well-known oil company with strong environmental credentials. This was them taking on and using a traditional format to slightly subverting it, so having the athletes leap out of it. It's quite a big site on the Cromwell Road on the way into the centre of London. And here, BMW used a massive backlit right on the Olympic site to really generate standout and visually stunning outcomes. Now, the specials were one of the other essential ingredients of the Olympics. And here we can see an example of non-sponsor Nike wrapping the IMAX cinema, which is situated right in the centre of London. But you can see it's a cinema inside a roundabout. So it gets a lot of traffic through it, past it. And at night, you can see the effect of that being lit up. Nike sort of slightly subverted the elitism of the Olympics, and some of the other things they did, including putting a mirror on a small 6-sheet format in a tube station, and the mirror underneath it had said, "Greatness looks just like you." So it was effectively taking the Olympics, the elitism, and making it a mass proposition that everyone could buy into and enjoy. And finally, this example, which is shocking for any of the out-of-home media owners here, because this is where one of the country's leading department stores obviously didn't want to pay anything for its media, so it just wrapped its main department store with a huge British flag in the middle of Oxford Street. It's another great example of them taking on and using out-of-home's visual and creative capabilities. That's my final example, is actually my favourite one, and it's a very, very simple piece of creative. A bit of context to it: Channel 4, one of the other TV stations in the UK, they had the rights for the coverage of the Paralympics, but not the main games. And obviously the Paralympics followed. So they said, thanks for the warm-up. That was good. And a great piece of copywriting. Ultimately, in that whistle-stop tour, I've hopefully demonstrated how the Olympics has really re-energised the format, not just creatively, but for media buyers, for media owners, for creatives, and for a lot of the landlords who own a lot of the outdoor space. Some advertisers did duck out during the Olympic period, and the reasons for that was because they thought they wouldn't generate standout, and that's fair enough. I think all you need to know now, or all you need to do now, is to persuade the Danish government that 90 billion Danish kroner can be a worthwhile exercise in boosting your outdoor spend for a month. Hopefully Great Danes like this man will be a great example to you. Sorry, I had to throw that in. I'm an Everton fan.